All right, so it does, but we got a little bit of a flash bomb here. Okay, we're going to start with the Apex Global Series playoffs. This was the group stage happening this past weekend from the 2nd to the 3rd. There's 2 or 3 days of competition here, and we're pretty much just going to go over a bit of the results. More or less. It started off as a round robin entry and knocking people off. People who had the best winning records qualified for the bracket stage. And once they got to the bracket stage, that's when they moved into top level competition and potentially some big prize money. The bracket stage, winners bracket, was on May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Losers bracket also happened there. And then the finals coming up on May 5th, which was just 2 days ago on Sunday. So that's the breakdown of the format, a very loose breakdown of the format. Ultimately, this is all for points and for money. And it was pretty exciting to see, and we had one team that was pretty dominant, I believe. Reject Winity, congratulations, a $300,000 prize pool to those boys, and scoring 500 points for the playoffs in the playoff win. Nick, how you feel? I know you can't see any of this information. We're all ears for you, but I'm all ears to hear what you got to say. $300,000 for an Apex prize pool. Are you a bit shocked at that? Is that like where we want it?
That's pretty wild, man. I mean, you know, the game is owned by a pretty wealthy company, overall. But you know, 300,000 just in general, as far as esports is concerned, is pretty good. And how big was this tournament for Apex? Just because, like, I don't keep track of that.
Right. Well, this seemed to be the start of their Super Bowl a bit. Their like world championships, a little bit of a culmination of their season. This is a playoff round, but for $300,000 in a subsection of not like the world champion. That's amazing. That is like beyond levels. And this is like, I believe, the 4th season of Apex. So we're talking about a pretty young esport. We're talking about a pretty young organization running the esport. But they've got the money, they've got the support, and maybe because it's more of a global entertainment thing and collective global, they're able to do this. The top 4 teams real quick were Reject Winity, Dark Zero Esports, Fnatic, and Not Moist, which, you know, we've been talking a lot about Moist Critical and Ludwig, and here they are again placing 4th with a prize pool of 85 grand. A few other teams that placed here, we had Legends, Cloud9, Aurora, Disguise, Luminosity. So again, we're seeing a lot of familiar faces, familiar orgs, especially in Apex, but across the board. I watched a little bit of collegiate esports this weekend, and I was seeing some of these same orgs sponsoring college teams, college professionals in Overwatch and Rocket League, in Apex, etc. Moving down, Space Station, Team Liquid, or some of them, Crazy Raccoon. Unfortunately, Crazy Raccoon didn't place for any money, but they did walk away with 60 points. I'm not sure if that's going to really help them in the end, but the top 20 teams end up scoring money here. 9 grand for the 20th place team for that. So the range of prize pool here from 300,000 for first place to 9,000 for 20th place. Not too shabby. And we're talking about a field of 40 participants in this qualified play-ins, playoffs play-ins. They had to compete to just get here and make a move. And yeah, you know, there was like we talked about, the first format, the first couple days were group stages. They round robin Swiss played each other, and the best records moved forward. You know, here's just a bunch of the teams that we saw playing and happening here. So overall, pretty exciting competition. Pretty cool to see Apex able to hold a competition just like this, and it was pretty great to see them bounce back after the last event, which, Nick, if you recall, and if you're still with me on the phone, you recall that was the hacker event. That was the major finals where they got hacked on stream, and it's nice to see that this bounced back and was a pretty smooth sailing event with such a high prize pool at stake.
Yeah, I mean, not seeing any of the symptoms of that hacking actually happen going forward after it did happen is pretty interesting overall. Just because, like, even when like League got hacked and other esports got hacked, it lasted for a while, not just like one tournament or whatever, you know.
Right. Even the DDoSing issues happening in League Korea is still ongoing. They've been really hush about it, but it is still something that we're seeing a lot of pros have problems with. And we'll see how that impacts practice and whatnot with the MSI. But we'll talk about the MSI results and recap in a few minutes here. Hey, Billy here. Wanted to take a quick minute to let you know a few different things. If you enjoyed the video so far, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps us out and it tells the algorithm to share it with more people. You can find the Esports Meta live every week on Twitch and YouTube. It's where we film the podcast or hang out, play games, and chat. If social media is more your vibe, check us out on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, or Twitter if you use Threads. Does anybody use Threads? This is a video game community that's excited to talk about esports, so jump into the conversation. Of course, you can find more videos like this here on YouTube. Just hit that subscribe button right there or there. Thanks for watching, and let's get back to the show. All right, on screen right now, we've got a little bit of the highlight winner's point of view. From Apex, as we kind of wrap up this subject and talking about this this tournament. It was a team from Japan that took out first place, I believe, getting that 300K. They did seem to do it pretty confidently as compared to a lot of other teams struggling, but here they are moving together, working together. Not a lot of action, but sometimes that's the best in a battle royale type situation.
Yeah, I mean, the battle royale overall is Apex alone really does feel like the most skill-based one because they have made a lot of progress with just like your landing. So there's really a lot of skill expression like in how you play the character and how you play the map because you do land with a little bit more than other like battle royales, you know, with the way like the shield works and everything. So
okay,
which are really good changes. Like, in case you didn't know, like, you used to have to, like, you basically had to, like, pick up armor, like, you know, back in the day and stuff like that. And now there's, like, growing armor and stuff like that. So you actually get armor on drop and stuff. So they made a lot of, quality of life changes for battle royales that you don't see in, like, other ones.
No, that's really great to hear because I know Nintendo has a problem where they want to make it accessible to everybody, and part of that accessibility means dumbing it down or simplifying things or just kind of keeping things random. And when things are random, it's fun, but like it's hard to have a competitive aspect to like a serious degree. It sounds like those changes, especially in Apex and the mindset they have with it, is about keeping competitive integrity so that players, like you said, can have better skill expression. It's not just, oh, we're boned because we weren't able to drop, or our spawn in for the drop was on the other side of the map compared to where we wanted to go, and we didn't have the strategy or the angle to adjust. Right now on the clip, we're seeing the team do a pretty bunker strategy, to put it politely. They're digging a hole and they're burying themselves in there, I think, with Watson's fences and energy shield, is that? But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, basically the ultimate for Watson, unless they've changed it since the last time that I played, it kind of like eats projectiles.
Oh, so that's a pretty interesting thing. They're creating a fence where it's going to probably knock out their shields for anybody who pushes them. They're fencing themselves. Oh, it stuns them. Well, they're fencing themselves in against the boundary, I guess, the out of bounds boundary, playing the time, and then they're just kind of holding a corner and using Watson's ultimate to eat projectiles and just kind of basically say, no, get away from me, don't even bother, as a big poke strategy here. But it's really cool to see, and it seems to be the right mindset they had because they ended up coming out on first place.
That Watson ultimate is super strong. Just in general, like even when I played, like again, if they changed it, they changed it. But I doubt that they changed it because it was relatively strong, but not like overpowered a good amount of the time. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the one thing I need to do is I got to keep up a little bit more on abilities for the newer characters. I know they had a big patch, and actually, let's shift into that real quick while we're waiting for you to convene. And Nick, let me know when you get to a point when we can try to bring you on screen again. But I'm gonna switch us into. All right. Sounds good, man. I'm going to switch this into just taking a look at those patch notes because it is a pretty big deal. We're going to kind of review them a little bit and see what they mean. And like Nick, be sure to jump in with your input if you have any. Otherwise, I'm going to just kind of read through and provide mine.
Go for it.
All right. So season 21 patch notes coming up, and this is probably going to change a lot of competitive play and the expectations on it. The first thing is the wingman. Sorry. First off is the wingman. Wingman, if I could talk correctly. First off, the wingman is getting a bit of a nerf, it seems like. Projectile size reduced. Damage reduced to 45 was 50. The Skull Piercer Elite removed. Hip fire accuracy reduced. So it seems they want players using that pistol to have a little bit less Halo 1 kind of accuracy and power and a bit more close range, it seems. If they, you know, less damage, not going to 3 or 4 tap somebody, and they're going to make people scope in to kind of hit those shots. Next up, the Devotion.
Apex is a little bit more.
Yeah.
Not willy-nilly, but like Apex updates the game a lot more frequently, just to change play patterns and stuff like that. But the wingman was like really, really strong for quite a while. Like it's been dominant multiple times over the course of the game's history. So it's no surprise to see it getting nerfed.
Right. It's been one of those old trusty guns, especially if you get the bad drop or the unlucky sort of loot box situation where you're not getting like a preferred weapon. A wingman is still a lethal option, but it's kind of like a standard issue lethal option. And like that kind of, you know, goes to what we were saying before. I'd be interested in seeing if they'd let you drop with like something standard, like a wingman. Everybody gets one, just like everyone starts with a little bit of armor that you upgrade as you progress. Maybe you start with a wingman, like a basic low damage wingman or something. And I know that might be a controversial take, but it'd be interesting to see the discussion on that and the thoughts with it, because it might increase competitive integrity in that manner. But unless you have something to contribute on there, Nick, I'm going to move on to the next patch notes for it.
Nothing.
Okay. All right. Next up, we saw the Devotion new reverse hipfire. Sustained hipfire will tighten accuracy. So this is a change where they want you to not what is it, ADR, ADS, down scope. They don't want you looking down scope to fire this. They want a more sustained hip fire, just quick run and gun kind of thing. Damage was increased and magazine size was also increased, which makes sense because I believe Devotion, if I recall correctly, Nick, it's more of an assault rifle. Maybe not.
Yeah, Devotion was more of an assault rifle for that one.
All right, so they seem to be leaning into that, giving it a little bit more punching power overall. They also changed the reserve ammo. I'm assuming they went up. So basically, I guess the clips you can have on hand and use for it. Empty reload time significantly reduced. Seems like we're going to be entering a Devotion meta on this one with sustained hit.
The Devotion was at one point.
I'm sorry, what was that, Nick?
The Devotion was a little strong at one point, but again, I haven't kept up on the game recently.
Gotcha. And I think they're going to be shifting it back a little bit. Maybe they were seeing a downplay in that. And like a lot of these developers, they'll look at the stats of how many they're using and general sentiment by the community, because sometimes there's like a feel. Just really quickly on that too, like telling a story. I'm not sure which game it was, but basically they had 2 weapons. I think it was actually Destiny 2. So I think there's a game, one of the devs in Destiny 2 talked about this, where they had a shotgun and the sound it made was very beefy, very like, ooh, yeah. And as you know, every season comes pretty quickly in Destiny and they offer a lot of new weapons, but sometimes those new weapons are pretty straightforward and kind of copies of old ones that get cycled out. So over time, a new weapon emerged that was almost a copy and paste of that shotgun the developer was talking about. But the biggest thing is that they had changed the way you shot it. Like you still, pressed fire one primary fire to shoot it, but like the way it felt, the way you scoped or the way the sights of the gun looked, it created this experience for players where players would like swear, man, this gun stinks. It's the worst. It doesn't do enough. And like, especially because it was a similar type of weapon, pretty much a copy and paste of the previous weapon, they would compare it to that previous weapon. But the dev told the story where it's like, it's exactly the same, except the sound is different. So it's a very interesting psychology trend when you talk about something like that, where a weapon can be numerically the same, but the skin will look different, the animation fire will look different, the sight will look different, and then even the firing sound will sound different, sound bigger or beefier, and like that can impact how somebody feels about the weapon. The weapon could be total trash, but then it sounds good, and then people are like, yeah, I'm doing something. Like, yeah, this is doing a lot. So kind of an interesting thing, and I wonder how much it impacts the balance changes for an Apex here, or the competitiveness around it, where people choose the meta, choose how they want to play, choose the strategy of play and style. Back into the results here. All right, like we said, we're hitting Reject Winity, $300,000 prize pool, first place, $160,000 for Dark Zero Esports, $105,000 for Fnatic, and Moist Critical and Ludwig's team pulling out 85 grand with Not Moist, fourth place. Pretty solid results amid going into now these patch notes, and the website's a little scuffed to the side, but you know, it is what it is. I'm not sure I can really do anything. Change that. Nah. Gets a little weird, but okay. We were just talking about the wingman being nerfed. It seems that the hip fire is projectiles are being reduced, and then the hip fires were being reduced, and no longer magazine attachments. So seems they're going to move away from a wingman sort of meta into a little bit of a devotion meta. Sustained hip fire will tighten accuracy. They're increasing damage, and they're increasing mag size, as well as empty time reload. So that's pretty nice. They're bringing in different golden weapons, guaranteed out of loot bins, which is another thing we were just talking about. When there's less chance and more skill, kind of like you can create more skill moments. You can create more knowledge moments. Bit of attachments, we're going to just kind of move through this quick because it seems like they're just getting rid of a lot of things on the longbow here. So many wild little changes. Talk a little bit real quick.
Running, shooting, punching, reviving will all break out of the banner collect animation while still registering as successful, which is great. That's
really cool to hear and see as far as the game goes, right? Because that's such a sitting duck time, so it's going to give you more opportunity to revive teammates, right?
Well, it's more about like when you're trying to recover after doing a successful team fight, right? And you get like third partied, or it's the second third party that's like entering, right? Or if it's a bigger fight and you need to like pick up a banner, get into a box, and then someone starts shooting at you. Excuse me, and you need to just shoot or something along those lines, right? Or just start running, stuff like that while you're trying to collect them. So
true. You can be a little bit more stand and defend now with this, and hopefully maybe actually just grab your guy and go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I think that's enough of Apex, and I think Apex served us as a little bit of the transition here. So let's move back into our double cam.